Yo, what's up? We are back on the Crash Report with Alan from Firehouse, Fox, and Permanent Waves.
Is this thing on?
So, Alan, being in 3 bands, does it ever get, is it weird playing these, like, smaller shows in, like, Permanent Waves and Fox, and then, you know, like, and then going at the Firehouse and, you know, kind of being, like, because I don't think that being in a tribute band or Fox that you are looked at as kind of like a celebrity, but in Firehouse, you know, is it kind of is it a different feeling playing in the bands?
Well, as far as the celebrity part, yeah, but again, me, it's never been being about the celebrity part. It's always been about the playing part, and me, I can enjoy myself, you know, jamming an acoustic guitar in somebody's living room.
Yeah, right.
It's but.
Is it a strange feeling?
The whole celebrity thing is kind of cool. You know, it is. I mean, you know, flying first class and staying in 5-star hotel rooms and playing in front of gigantic numbers of people and having people, you know, especially the strangest thing for me to this day is going to a country I've never been to in my life, stepping off an airplane and having people yell out my name. that is awesome.
That's crazy.
That's got to be an insane feeling.
But as far as playing the other bands, you know, like I said, I do those, you know, for fun. You know, these guys are friends of mine. You know, we jam together, we have a blast. You know, in Fox sometimes we have a little more than a blast. But to me, it's all about, you know, the playing and hanging with your buds.
Yeah.
You know?
That's what it should be about.
And the guys from Firehouse, they're my buds. You know, when we're off stage, you know, it's a good hang with those guys.
That's good.
I can imagine. Yeah, I mean, especially like you said, getting off a plane and people just shouting your name and stuff. That's got to be crazy. It's got to be so surreal.
I was in the first time we went to Japan. We rode a bullet train from Tokyo to which our next gig, which I believe was Nagoya. And we were on tour with Night Ranger on that tour in 2008. And I'll never forget getting off that train. And we're disembarking from the train, and there are all these people with album covers and CDs and pictures and everything. And come to the train wanting us to sign stuff. And I introduced myself to one of them. I go, "Hi, I'm Alan." And the guy goes, I know.
That's awesome.
Hazard, you said you've actually been recognized for being on the show before.
Yeah, I was at a gas station. And,
was it the one right down the road?
Yeah, it was the one right down the road.
You know what really upsets me
is you're the only one that hasn't been recognized on the show.
This is my show. I'm the host of the show, and I'm the only one that
we do all the promotion work.
I'm the one that is never recognized.
Oh my god!
It's like, oh my god, it's Crash. Micah's girlfriend, Misty.
I'm telling everyone out there, give Crash some props, would you please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
He puts a lot of hard work in. Me and Kenny just work harder.
Misty, Micah's girlfriend, came in and I'm like, do you know who this is? Because she I don't think she listened to the show for entertainment purposes. I think she listened
to make sure that Micah wasn't cheating on her?
Yeah, for defensive purposes with our old co-host. But I'm like, do you know who this is? This is Kenny from the show. And she's like, oh my god, it's Kenny!
He's still pissed about that.
Yeah, I am.
I didn't even do anything.
Yeah, I know. I just don't understand how everybody knows you, but nobody knows me.
Well, you know why everyone knows me.
Because you turned down a porn deal?
I still can't believe it.
We'll talk about that next week when,
Yeah.
What have I stepped in here?
Yeah, let me plug this again. Next week, this is a must. You have to tune in next
Battle
week.
of the Exes.
My ex-girlfriend's mother will be on the show, as well as Kenny's ex-girlfriend will be on the show. So, and Kenny and her are having their closure talk live on the air.
You realize that this means you have reached the best friend zone.
Oh my God! I
been
hound
begging
Kenny
for.
every day. Let me be your best friend.
You're in this best friend zone. Hazard is already in there too.
Yeah.
No, but, as far as like you said, being a lot. I mean, do you feel like all 80s style bands are bigger overseas for the most part? Obviously, some bands, I mean, like Motley Crue and stuff, are still pretty. They're still pretty big over here. But do you feel like most of the I don't want to say lesser known, but the don't even know how to word that, but some like even like Trickster, even or Kicks, those
Cinderella.
kind of bands. No, that's
really.
No, because to me, Cinderella was one of the few bands of the '80s that didn't have that glam sound. They were so bluesy.
I guess.
Yeah, when I hear I agree. When I hear Cinderella, I don't hear that like the prototypical like '80s
the
metal
shredding
sound.
and
when I hear Cinderella, I hear old school like Zeppelin, like Humble Pie, like
Cinderella. Cinderella is one of my all-time
Nazareth,
favorites.
those kind of bands.
Yeah.
You know?
But do you feel that a lot of those bands like Kicks and even probably Y&T, those kind of bands, you feel like they have a bigger presence overseas than they do in the country? Than over here in the States?
I think so because the fans over there are. I mean, when they're fans, they are fans. They don't. It's not. Well, what's the flavor of the month? I'll follow that now.
Right.
Those fans there are not like that. They either like you or they don't. And if they do, they'll like you forever. And that's just the way it goes.
Did you watch I assume you watched the Super Bowl last night?
I watched half of it.
Did you watch the halftime show?
The halftime show, I thought, was really good.
I am not a Bruno Mars fan by any means, but I was very impressed. I thought it was a great show.
And he was really singing.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw the in-ear monitors, and the man was singing. And which, not a lot of them do. Very few of them perform live in the Super Bowl, but he was great entertainer.
Yeah, he was on top of his game. And the Chili Peppers, even though they were on for so short, they killed it too. Yeah.
What's this shit that Kenny was telling me about earlier? That people were complaining that Flea's bass wasn't plugged in.
I seen a picture. It was kind of somewhat of a meme.
He's just phoning it in. It's not even playing.
Yeah.
It's obviously a wireless.
Yeah, I mean,
even if you couldn't see the wireless pack on the back, I know for a fact there are things that you can put inside of the body of a guitar that will transmit a signal to a soundboard.
Well, yeah, there are things you can even put in the bridge.
Yeah, exactly.
That will do the same thing.
It's
crazy.
I can't believe anybody would argue with Flynn. He's such a great bass player.
Exactly right.
I mean,
one of my favorites.
Oh yeah.
I can't see him faking something. But no, even Anthony Kiedis doing so many drugs and everything, he was on top of his game last night. I feel like.
And Chad was really drumming his ass off.
Oh yeah,
he was great.
Yeah, are you guys fans of Chickenfoot at all?
I love Chickenfoot.
I like some of their stuff.
I heard a few songs, and I was not digging it at all. I like everybody in the band. I like all their main projects, but I was not a big.
I think one of the things about Chad Smith too, just back to that, I think he's one of the most underrated drummers out there right now. Like, just because of the fact he's in the pocket 90% of the time. He might not be like flailing around and doing these crazy drum fills like a Joey Jordison or a Matt Greiner or something. But what's
going on with that, by the way, real quick? We're not going to talk about it very long. I just want to know. You brought it up real quick. What is going on with Joey Jordison? Is he in the band? Is he not in the band?
Dude, I've heard like about 3 different stories about how he quit and how they got kicked out and such. But as far as I know, Joey Jordison is not a member of Slipknot.
That's what I'm gathering. But you seen he came back and said that he would not leave Slipknot. That is his baby. You seen that?
Well, yeah, that's his baby. He's the one that formed that.
Exactly, and he said he would not part ways with it. I don't know.
It's interesting how things happen sometimes, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But how do you feel about a lot of this newer rock? Since, Permanent Waves, the Rush tribute, and Fox, and, Firehouse, older school rock. How do you feel about a lot of the newer rock?
I'd say some bands I've heard that, one band in particular really caught my ear, and that's Volbeat.
I love Volbeat.
I had heard of them, and then I had never listened to their music until I seen them live last year at Rock on the Range.
Great band.
As soon as he started singing, I was like, "Oh my God, this guy's voice! He has got one of the most unique voices I have ever heard."
Well, not like their musical approach.
Yeah,
They really don't sound like anybody out there.
They've got that like rockabilly vibe with the kind of, I guess you could call it nowadays commercial metal. I don't know. Maybe. Maybe not.
It's very, they opened up with a Warrior's Call, and that song was just like, wow. And then $16 is one of my favorite. That song is great.
But there's a lot of newer bands I've heard, but they immediately come to mind. And 3 Days Grace, those guys are, I like them quite a bit.
Yeah, I seen them last year with their new vocals.
And Sevenfold, I like those guys a lot.
I'd say I was not digging the new stuff, like "Hail to the King" and that kind of stuff.
That's as far as I've been told. That song's pretty much the only one that sounds like that off of that album.
Well, "Shepherd of Fire." Have you heard that one?
No.
I don't know.
My biggest complaint with "Hail to the King" sounds like it should have been on their first album. Just throwing it out there because it's very simple. It's very dry. It's not the only thing that's crazy about it is Sinister Gates doing the same solo for the whole song. I don't know.
It's like Thunderstruck.
Yeah.
when I heard "Hail to the King," it put me to mind almost of a band like Sabotage.
Yeah,
like they were back in the day. It had that kind of similar vibe to it.
Yeah. Exactly. Just not my personal cup of tea when it comes to Avenged Sevenfold, because then again, I listened to them once they put out Unholy Confessions. The first time I saw Unholy Confessions, I'm like,
I am so tired of that song. Every local metal band covers that song.
By the way, if you're in a local metal band, stop covering that song, please.
For the love of God, please. But no, so when Firehouse is touring overseas or anything, you guys ever bring any newer bands as support?
No, when we tour, that's pretty much up to the promoter of whoever brings us wherever. I mean, if we play in Indonesia, like this last time, we toured Indonesia in October, and that was with Steelheart, and the other openers on that tour were all Indonesian bands that were brought on board by.
How are the
promoter.
local acts in other countries?
Really, in Indonesia, these people embrace rock music like no one I've ever seen.
Like it's a religion.
Southeast Asia, and for that matter, South America.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
I've heard some stories about Brazil.
They're insane down there. They are just rabid fans. We love playing there. And in Southeast Asia, because they're insane. They're crazy.
Yeah.
And I mean, they sing louder than the band plays. It's amazing.
That's got to be a good feeling.
You mentioned Steelheart. Didn't the singer? I'm sure you're familiar with the movie Rockstar.
Oh yeah.
Didn't the guy from Steelheart? Isn't he who did the vocals for that movie?
Yeah, that's right.
Very, very, very good vocalist.
To this day.
From what I've heard of Steelheart, I haven't listened too much of them, but everything I've heard from them, I really like a lot. I think there's two other ones that do some of the vocals in them. I know Miles Kennedy, who's playing with Slash, and he was in that movie too.
Yeah, he was the guy that
he brings up at the end.
He brought up at the end.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know how I feel about his voice. Sometimes it's a little bit too much for me, but I've never listened to Alter Bridge. I've only heard him with Slash, so I'm not sure.
The one Alter Bridge song that was on the radio about 2 years ago, I think. I can't remember the name of the song for the life of me. Maybe.
That's also got Mark Tremonti from Creed, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's basically is Creed with another singer.
Is it most of the same?
That's what happened because Scott Stapp left, and they're like, well, fuck it, he's taking Creed. Let's form another band.
Well, Miles Kennedy is definitely better than
Scott Stapp. Yeah.
I think he's more on top of his game. But I think it'd be cool to see some local bands, from other countries. That's got to be crazy. But especially some of the crowds over there, because I know a lot overseas. A majority, I see all these flyers for these big festivals, and the lineups are so sick. And I question all the time, why don't they bring these lineups over here? Like the Wacken Festival in Germany. I would just love to go to that someday.
There's two I would love to do, and that's one, and the Swedish Rock Festival. I'd love to do that one, the Sweden Rock Festival.
Have you guys done any of the Rocklahoma or anything like that?
We played the first two.
First two Rocklahomas?
Yeah.
How are those? I've always wanted to go to that because it seems like out of all these big festivals here in the country, they seem to have more older bands. They still have, they do have.
That's
newer
what
bands,
it is. It's basically an '80s retro festival.
Well, it's like M3 is pretty much the same thing, right?
Yeah, M3 is. Well, it's different.